to the Conception Channel podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Conception Channel podcast, brought to you by the Being Fertile program and YINSTILL Reproductive Wellness. I am your host, Spence, PENTLAND, and today I'm super excited to be able to speak with our special guest, Joanne Verkuilen. Verkuilen. That silent U. And then I was like, oh, is the I long? Or okay, sorry about that. Joanne is the creator of circle+bloom. A lot of you might know exactly what I'm talking about. It is primarily from my perspective, audio, guided visualization and meditation for reproductive health, more specifically fertility, women and men. Actually, going through some fertility. I'd love to touch on that male program. I've never listened to it, but thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. It's Friday. You are heading into the weekend. I'm just kind of waking up and got the kids off to school. So it's I appreciate you taking the time out. And just a little bit of housekeeping before we'll jump into your story. I'm excited to hear because I know you have a background that got you into this. But if you haven't already done so, please go to the bottom of the podcast page. If you're on here on beingfertileprogram.com, subscribe. We'll let you know when new podcasts come out. We're also on Apple iTunes podcasts. You can leave a nice review while you're there, or on YouTube as well at the Conception Channel. Anyway, without further ado, Joanne, do you mind like kind of dialing back and letting everyone know kind of why this passion project came to fruition?
Absolutely, and this kind of goes back pretty far into my own life, just because I was diagnosed with PCOS as a teenager, and I'll never forget the words of my excellent doctor. I changed doctors, and he diagnosed me like almost right away, whereas all the other doctors were like, irregular periods. They didn't even look at it, but this doctor was like, okay, it's PCOS. Pretty sure it is, and you will. I think his exact words were something like, you'll most likely have troubles getting pregnant. And, that was a hard words to hear, even as a teenager. Of course, I had my plans for that were much later in life, but still, you have dreams of being a mother someday. And when that becomes a big question mark at that young age, it was hard.
Yeah,
so
I believe that.
And then also throughout college, I had started dabbling in self-hypnosis and in the mind-body connection. In fact, I actually helped, and I don't know where I came up with this idea. It just kind of came to me, but he was a friend who had alopecia, which people know it's basically your white blood cells attacking your hair follicles. And because I was interested in self-hypnosis and doing my own kind of research, and I had taken a class as well, that I got him into a relaxed state, and I helped him visualize what was happening with his white blood cells attacking, and then just having him visualize then those white blood cells just relaxing and kind of dissipating. And, his hair grew back. I don't know if that was because of what I did, but I'm telling you, this has been something in my life that has always been there, this mind-body connection, and then the interest in the mind-body connection and being able to tap into your inner wisdom. That always interests me. And then going through, and then fast forward, got married. My first child really wasn't a problem with respect to getting pregnant. Thank God. that was a great, sort of relatively easy. It still took me a long time, but we were trying, but not trying. We were just kind of, what I tell people is like, it's like your hand, just leave it open and that butterfly will land. That was the mentality I had for the first one. And then the second child was a completely different story. We were really having troubles. We had multiple miscarriages. And it just became this high level of stress in my life, unfortunately. And we came through it. We didn't have to do anything too major like IVF or anything, but you go through something like that, and month after month after month for many, I think we tried for, I want to say about 2 years. And, it was so very taxing. Came out of that healthy pregnancy, and then I had my best friend start to go through infertility. In her case, it was kind of unexplained. Nothing was physically wrong with her, and we could just see, sitting from the outside, the stress. And so then I started researching, well, what is the stress and fertility connection? And then came all this mind-body stuff came back to me. I had actually, at the time, been working on Wall Street. I was in mergers and acquisitions, and so kind of put all that kind of stuff to the side. But when all this started happening, it just really hit me hard, and I knew I needed to do something. I'd never forget sitting in my kitchen one morning and wanting to do something on my own as well from a business perspective, and then had this idea of doing a daily meditation that changed to the cycle, which kind of hit me over the head. I'm like, I could do this.
Right.
This could be amazing to have something that somebody could do every single day to not only elicit the relaxation response, which could reverse the effects of stress, open up the mind-body connection. So using the guided visualization to really physically go in and visualize what your body should be doing during that time of the cycle. And then the other element is, feeling in control again. It's this idea of like doing something every single day that gives you that feeling of being in control over your body, being in control over your future, feeling in control of this big unknown. And when you're going through infertility, it's this big unknown. It's very frustrating. It's all the fear that maybe is kind of all these inner beliefs and repressed emotions sort of start to come up, and it's and so anyway, to do something every single day, and that's when I'm like, I've got to do this, and awesome. It just flowed out. It really did. The writing of it came out so easily. The recording of it came out so easily. I got some investors. They came, like, I'm telling you, I didn't have to do anything. They just showed up in my life. So
you know that it was meant to be when it just flows right there. Yeah. Absolutely
meant to be. So anyway, that's my quick story.
Awesome. Well, so is that recording still around today?
No, not the original one. Yeah. I had revamped that just to make it better. Had learned, it was like going backwards, but that was my very first one, and I knew I could make it a lot better, so I went back, and that was probably like maybe 3 or 4 years into it, after we had developed a series of other programs, and you just get better and better. It's like some of my original programming is no longer available, but it's the same idea. It's just better. So
you might have to do a legacy release or something.
No.
We were talking before about authenticity and just organic conversation and putting it out there. Well, I mean, that's such a great idea. And I mean, did that, this is just my own curiosity, you said almost every day or something every day, and it was kind of attached to here if you're bleeding within your cycle, or you're maturing an egg and aligning or ovulating. So there were times you could skip around on the tracks and choose appropriate. Yeah, that's
right. Exactly. If your cycle isn't exactly 28 days, which is what we say, normally people aren't.
Yeah.
So if you're perfect, you're listening day 13, and that's sort of around the time you're ovulating, kind of thing, or working up towards it, and then. But normally, so you either add or subtract days, depending on kind of figuring out when you ovulate. So yeah, but it gets very specific.
That would have been unique to you. Now, I'm just a question about your PCOS. Often that's an irregular cycle, but it sounds like yours maybe was diagnosed from different criteria.
No, it was definitely irregular periods, which was the first out of the gate. And I was exhibiting other things, like a lot of acne at the time. It's so funny. This is getting very personal, but recently, and I've stopped eating dairy, and I've stopped eating meat. So, and this is about 5 years ago, and I don't know if this is because of it, and also because of just what I do on a daily basis, which is my own mind-body focus. But I went in, and they see no signs of PCOS any longer in my ovaries. Usually it's like a looking thing when they look at an ultrasound. I had an ultrasound recently. They're like, we don't see any signs of a PCOS anymore.
Wow.
So I think that's, something that it just goes back to everything I believe in, which is your body can change.
Right.
Just because you're diagnosed with something doesn't mean that it has to stay that way. Your body's constantly changing, and being able to, allow yourself to be more in control over that part of your body. It's doable. We're so like neck up in terms of medicine. Like that's how you think, and then this is the way your body is. There's no connection, but I firmly believe emotions and feelings and thoughts completely go back and forth and interact, and you can help guide them. So
well, thoughts become things, and when that's not mine. I don't know. My mom always says that. She's a Carolyn Miss fan or Louise Hay. I don't know. Anyway, but when a woman comes to me and they've been trying to conceive for some time, the words that I hear, the neuro-linguistic programming that comes out is often, there's a lot of self-loathing and shame and words like, struggling or fight or these kinds of things. And that for sure, if mind body is important, then that's tough, right? Right.
I mean, the words that you say to yourself while you're going through this can be very, and it's so hard to break the cycle. So it's hard to say to somebody, you need to stop saying those words and stop thinking those things. You can't, I would never say that to somebody, but it's like the idea of being aware, first of all. Oh my God, listen to the way I'm talking about myself and my body. And does that help or hurt me? And is there a way for me to move up a little bit on the scale of emotions so I don't feel this loathing about myself and I don't feel this shame? Is there a way for me to, and we talk a lot about ways of working through these emotions like journaling, and we talk a lot about being in community with other women going through it. Right. And, things like self-care are so important through this process as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, that negative self-talk is it's inevitable, I think, in anyone in life, and that is all of our journeys, and struggles and maybe growth, let's say, to put a positive spin on it. But and I like to say, that's okay, like you said, perfect. The awareness is there. So now, don't beat yourself up even more. Don't worry that you're worrying. Don't get angry that you're angry at yourself. Don't snowball. Right. But let's try and balance it with some positive affirmations. Let's get you onto circle+bloom, audio MP3. Seriously, I mean, I'm not shameless promotion, but it is something women can do every day of their life. You've got so many programs, and we'll dive into those, but it's and it's so effective, and especially because I don't want to stereotype, but so many of the women that do come in type A, career driven, really have accomplished everything they've ever wanted kind of in life by like kicking ass and working hard, but then this realization that conception might be more about reception than accomplishment. It's like, okay, I get that intellectually, but how do I get from here to here? Right. It's like these visualizations, and I'm not just a stereotypical practitioner that says, you should meditate. Well, that's fantastic, but I would equate that for people that are very busy in the mind and go as to being as difficult as learning to play the piano. So
it's meditation is hard on your own. I do believe that. Yeah, it's hard.
Totally.
Yeah.
So then here, guide your mind. I mean, a busy mind can be guided. So you don't need to be a Zen Buddhist. You just guide that very powerful, thoughtful mind that you have into your body or into positive affirmations. And so, yeah, I mean, in my clinic, I think this is before we recorded, but we've recommended your stuff for years, probably since it basically came out. Of course, Can you let people know kind of what programs are out there? Because I mean, I've only used a few of them, you know, and recommended a few of them. But I revisited today before we chatted. I'm like, oh wow, like the embryo and egg donate, like these differences, and sleep, and you know, the IVF and the FET and the PCOS
Right.
and the natural cycle, just so many, you know, like, and this 28-day thing and detox. Can you touch on some of them? Why not? They're so catered to everybody, right?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, and thank you. I so appreciate the support. We've had so many practitioners like you that have really combined our programs with their practice as well. And so, in fact, we just started working with one of the IVF centers in Northern Virginia, and you know, so it's just, and we have a lot of REs as well that are recommending our program. So it makes my heart sing when that happens. But yeah, we have programs that cover pretty much the gamut. So you start with where I was, which is, I'm just going through a natural cycle. How can I gain control over that? Can I get pregnant without, in the natural cycle, if you're using Clomid or something like that, that's fine. And those are, like I said, the 28-day program. It's like a 10 to 20-minute meditation, depending on what's happening in that time of the cycle. So we may get pretty detailed into it. And if I may, each day, pretty much, it's like a yoga class. You know, you go in and you start off with, you know, kind of sitting lotus or whatever you do, and then you do the stretching, and at the end you do kind of the what is it called? Shavasana. Thank you. And so our programs kind of have like chunks like that as well. Like you start off with what we call an induction. So you go body part by body part, using your mind to relax your body. And I'm telling you, once you even just get through that part, which usually lasts like 4 minutes, 5 minutes, you feel already like you feel like you're already in a different state. You know, your body just feels really relaxed. It's like you're going through your own like massage, you know, but so you feel like heavy, but yet light. And I've had all kinds of awesome experiences getting to that point. Just, that's all you need to do. And you sleep much better just with that part. So that's, okay, kind of, you know, getting to a really relaxed state. Your brain waves just start to slow down. And then we start to talk about, and then we go into the guided internal visualization. So again, whatever physically should be happening, and we get very specific. Right. Yeah. We start in the brain, for example. We get into the hypothalamus and the pituitary, and we see what, you know, we start to help you visualize, and we tell you exactly where it is and how you can visualize it, and then, you know, we really help you tap into your own intuition as well. Like, what are some of the things that you feel are, you know, that we call it sometimes dials. Like, is there a dial that you need to turn? Like, just use your intuition to like kind of slightly adjust things or whatever you need to do. But then we see the communication between the pituitary and the hypothalamus and how that works between that and your ovaries, and then we go down into the, you know, later in we literally go right into the fallopian tube, and then of course the uterus, and seeing what's happening in the uterus, and like, and we always assume that, you know, of course the sperm is meeting the egg, and, you know, things are happening just as they should. Right. And then, you know, so for the rest of the 2 weeks, you know, after ovulation, we kind of just see what's happening inside the uterus, and making sure that relaxation and acceptance, and like, you know, that kind of, those feelings. So we do that part. So that's the, you know, so again, induction, then we do the visuals, the guided specific physical visualization. And then towards the end, we offer kind of an emotional release, or guiding you towards maybe a way for you to release inner emotions, repressed emotions, things that you just kind of are, you know, those feelings of shame or whatever it is that's going on. We don't, of course, tell you specifically, but we use kind of just high level, you know, guiding you towards how you can be thinking about those things in a way to release them. Right. And so, and that pretty much covers it. And of course, once that's done, we either say, okay, time, you know, bringing you back up to an awareness, or if you're in bed, asleep, you know, in bed, you know, let let this feeling of relaxation continue throughout your entire. So to answer your question, fertility, natural cycle, IVF, IUI. Yeah, we've got the frozen embryo transfer. We have the if you're doing an egg donation. We have, of course, PCOS and PCOS. We have 2 PCOS programs. One for if you want to get pregnant, and one if you're just trying to write and balance yourself out. I'm trying to think if there's any more.
You have an embryo donation. Is that right as well?
No.
I thought I just read that anyway. I was like, wow, that's specific and so catering to such a subpopulation.
Right.
Yeah,
And
sleep. You've got sleep and
sleep, yes. So we've got all kinds of so programs that will kind of just aid you through the entire process. But those as well, that if you're not trying to get pregnant, we've got a whole slew of mindfulness, accomplishing goals, feeling better about yourself,
happy.
Yeah, it's just finding that balance inside. So we also have a program for pregnancy, by the way. Let me not forget that. Pregnancy, in fact, we most of the people that go through our programs always come back to us and let us know. And I went right into the pregnancy program. In fact, a lot of women were like, I really miss my recordings every day. I'm like, you need to get on this pregnancy thing. And so our pregnancy, in fact, now we have people who want motherhood, like when the first month.
Postpartum.
Postpartum, like, help me out here with this, because it's still a very stressful process. So the pregnancy program runs the entire length of the pregnancy. And
it's awesome. I mean, when we've been working with a woman, going through, the various, utilizing the various programs that you have, it's this mini celebration we have when we can turn on that first trimester recording, and then when it gets to happy birth, it's just so exciting, and that's the I don't know if it'd be hypnobirthing or it's a birthing visualization.
Right,
but
exactly.
To rewind a little bit, I love, your explanation of, how you dive in and talk people through what's going on in their mind and in the pituitary and the hypothalamus ovarian axis. And because, that literally is connecting the mind and the body, the brain and the body, the mind and the body. Because, and you can, the simple way I highlight to people is, if you, I want you to understand exactly how much influence just what you're thinking in your mind can have on your body. So I get them to fall into a nice state and relax. And I say, okay, when you're ready, move your big toe. And they're like, well, that's ridiculous. I'm like, but that is just your mind body, and yes, it's more subtle when you're sending nutrition to your, to your ovaries or your uterine lining, but you just have to have faith that is working out, and these programs can be so A, educational, and B, like helping with mind body, because I think I
couldn't agree more. There are so many stories. We actually work with Dr. Bernie Siegel very closely early on. He's still technically on our advisory board, but and we also have a program for cancer, by the way, and I'd like to talk a little bit about that. And that's really inspired by Dr. Bernie Siegel's work, because his focus was always in oncology, and he would always propose that his patients use some kind of mind-body connection. And he, in his book, Love, Medicine, and Miracles, one of the stories that I always bring up because it's just so powerful, of this little boy who had a brain tumor, and basically it got to a point where the doctor's like, we can't do anything for him. And, so the parents did not stop. They brought him to a center. I'm not sure where. This is going back in time, because Love, Medicine, Miracles is a book from the 80s. And they helped him visualize. So he would do this every day. He would visualize like little Martians coming in. So he made it fun, like little Martians coming in and like, using these fun machine guns to zap the brain tumor. Yeah. And so, but the doctors so he would do that every day. And then he, I guess, took a fall down the stairs and hit his head really hard. went back and got a CAT scan. And of course, right, there's no tumor. Like, I think actually before that he did say, Mommy, you know, or Daddy, there's nothing left to shoot. They're like, well, what are you talking about? Like, his intuition, like, not only was he visualizing that, but he was then but then the communication went both ways.
Yeah.
So he saw that he had healed himself.
Right.
And, you know, I don't think anybody believed him until they saw the CAT scan of him being completely healthy. So I firmly believe that, and I have a friend who unfortunately is going through some pretty, you know, advanced stages of cancer, you know, stage 4 colon. And she, recently, so she uses, and she loves the cancer program, and you know, she's not just saying that because it's me, like she really, and she, there was some kind of extra medication that she had to take because of the nausea, and she's like, nope, I'm going to visualize this, and she, you know, started doing something on her own to help her body, and she's like, Joanne, she's like, she's like, I don't need to take that extra medication or whatever it is. So she's now starting to believe, and I'll be interested to see how she gets to a new level with her treatment on her own, you know.
Wow.
I just think it's so powerful, and especially with unexplained infertility, right? Where it's like, what's going on, you know, that is resisting, you know, it's just, and so I firmly believe, and I just wrote it down because I didn't want to forget to talk about it, the intuition is something that actually I have been studying more and more over the past couple of years, and how we can start to really listen, you know, being quiet and then listening to what's coming up for ourselves through our intuition to help address and answer some of those questions. And I think that there's tools there, and I'm just starting to think through that, how that could make sense for or at least communicating in such a way that it made sense for people, and that they could start to use their intuition in a more proactive way as well, not just through these visualizations, but generally, right? You know, using intuition.
You know, I think there's nothing more intuitive than a woman who has fallen pregnant. But that intuition isn't gone before that. It's just maybe tucked in really nicely. And I like to, I think it's wonderful, you know, asking, you know, women always have insights somehow on some level, as long as you've got trust with them, to what do you think's going on, you know, you know, and it's always, you know, a bit more of a spiritual route, you know, in my experience, and that's where my practice is going. That's why I love this mind-body stuff. You know, you can fix as much as you want and try really hard with medications and supplements and various procedures, and often that's the solution, and whatever gets you to your goal is the right path. But I love this, you know, and my only caveat to someone who says, well, you know, I don't know about that, or I can tell when I'm starting to talk about, you know, your programs or whatever, you know, in that realm, I'm like, well, you know, the possibility is there that all of this is right. What you're saying, Joanne, is correct, you know, and it does work. So if that possibility is there, it's worth stepping in.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's worth stepping in. It's worth stepping in. You know, and I try to make sure people understand that, so that every program has an introduction, and I try to really say, like, the more you believe that this can help you, the more it will help you. Like, belief equals outcome in a lot of times, right? Like, what's the famous Ford, you know, Henry Ford saying, whether you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so I really feel from like that, people think, oh, that means, you know, actually doing something and taking action. Right. Well, what about if it means also, like, you know, being able to have domain over your physical body? Right. And I think so. The intuition as well. What I find is, like, to be able to access the intuition is like asking yourself a question. I actually journal it, but asking myself a question that I'm trying to figure out. So I write it down. What's my question? And then I get quiet and I just listen. And sometimes it comes even before I'm done writing my question, but it's like, and then I start writing. And it's like, what's coming out of me? Like, and some of the answers are like, where did that come from? But then I follow it, like, okay, ask another question. What does this mean? Yeah. What did you mean by, I don't understand that? And then it would come out again and like, okay, so what's going on? And just getting quiet though and listening, I think is it can be really powerful. Yeah.
I mean, our heart does not scream like our ego, you know, and to me, whatever you believe, I don't care the wording, the universe, your heart, God, you need to fall still to hear those messages, because otherwise your ego and your thinking, you know, in social conditioning moves you through life, and only when you can, you know, that's why meditation is powerful, or these guided imageries. And when someone's done one of your tracks, you know, at the end of that is when that magic would truly happen. That creative intuition would really be open, because there's nothing between your mind and the heart then, you know, and it can speak to you, and that's really powerful. I love that. I am just so all about heart-led medicine, you know. It's wonderful, you know, that you've created this tool. I mean, circle+bloom.com. So, okay, the IVF one, I love. It is, you know, half the women that I see are going through an IVF cycle, because it, especially more even today than 10 years ago, it's changed profoundly how much of an option that is, you know, stepping into trying to conceive. And so the tracks that you go through are different depending on if you're, you know, preparing, or if you are going through your stimulation cycle. It's just so connecting to these women, and it's so great, even on embryo transfer day, and then afterwards, which is fantastic. The PCOS, do you have anything, or you have something in the process of being created for miscarriage?
Actually, we do.
You do. Okay.
We do. Yeah. And it's free. It will always be free.
You give that one away. Oh, that's so nice.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's recovery and loss, I think, is the technical name for it. Okay. Name of it. But it's absolutely there. And
nice.
Just say, listen, you know, so that of course is near and dear to my heart. And we get a lot of positive feedback on that, just from the standpoint of, again, you know.
Well, if you think that, you know, it's really nice to see how struggles with creating your family, falling pregnant, fertility has really come out into the public eye more, like in the last few years. I mean, 15 years ago, no one talked, you know, and I feel like miscarriage is in that same realm still, because it's different when you're getting pregnant regularly. You can't speak, you know, you don't speak the same language even as someone who's not getting pregnant, you know, and which is difficult. So it's even more isolating. It's traumatic. I mean, for some women, it can be, you know, a loss that's with them forever, you know. And so I'm glad that there's something there for that too, because you know, often I see women try to just glaze over or you know, kind of skip over that. Move on. Right. But it's big, and I think honoring and mourning and all these things are important, and I assume that's probably And I don't think it matters how far along you are. That's another thing. Like, people think, oh, well, I was only a month or two in, or whatever. It does not matter how far along. Obviously, the longer the baby develops, the harder. Like, but you got to let yourself grieve, even if it's only been a little bit of time, because in your mind, yes, absolutely. Right. I think that I love what you said, which is, there's an honoring process there that you need to go through. Right.
Yeah.
Well, when women are undergoing acupuncture, it's kind of that shavasana, which you were talking about. And the receptive, if I could boil down acupuncture into one word of how it facilitates helping women conceive. This is more of an esoteric perspective. You know, there's what it says in the literature, but if I could boil it down, it's very opening. And so reception occurs, and that opening too probably is a gateway into that intuition that you're speaking to.
I couldn't agree more. I think that I'm starting to think about how I can package these concepts up to really. I mean, our programs are, we're almost celebrating our 10-year.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And even 10 years ago, we were like, how do we explain this program? Right? You didn't want to use the word meditation.
Yeah.
Now it's like, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Right? Meditation is becoming like the thing.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful. And meditation can mean a lot of things, as you know, right? Sitting by yourself, even if it's for 2 minutes, that's meditation, and trying to focus on your thoughts. And then you've got what we do, which is, you don't need to do this on your own. It's like you'll get the same benefits. There is something though to doing it on your own, which I have found, at least, which is that, focusing on what your thoughts are, right, enables you to, because if I'm just talking in your ear for 20 minutes, and I do every now and then say, try to let those thoughts that come in just kind of pass through. But to really sit with yourself and your thoughts and just watching them as clouds go by, like, oh, there's another thought, there's another thought. There's another thought. Let me get back to my breathing. There's another thought, because you can't just not think. No. I don't think, right? Unless you're the Dalai Lama or been meditating forever. Yeah. So doing that where you've got a focus, which is either on your breath, or if you're, if you've got a favorite saying that you say. I wrote a blog about it recently. It was around Valentine's Day, where I've been doing a meditation which is just about my own self-love. So I focus, and my words are, I love myself. I love myself. I love myself. And what that has done for me is, again, just centering myself and making sure that that inner bond is there, and I can also really just be more cognizant of my thought patterns. And so throughout the day, I'm like, oh, that's just one of those stupid, whatever. Like, I don't need, like, in getting back to my baseline, which is my intuition, like going deep, my intuition. Who am I really? Like Eckhart Tolle. I mean, I consider him my guru. Like, I've learned so much from listening to him, and I must have listened to both The Power of Now and New Earth. I don't know. I have it on my Audible book. Yeah. Over and over and over and over again, because I hear different things every time. Yeah. But it's like understanding, like, who am I really? Deep, and then it becomes like the day passes by, and I'm in a joyful state, because I know who I am, and I know that it's going to be okay, and that I don't know. So that's kind of where I've been heading lately.
It's beautiful. I in the spirit of Eckhart Tolle, I'm going to see him speak live, my wife and I, in a couple of weeks. I mean, he's near and dear to Vancouver, but I want, and in his lane, I mean, I want people to know that you're not a failure, and to not be hard on yourself if you can't sit in a full lotus for 2 hours and like clear your mind. That is ridiculous. Even something as, and that's Eckhart Tolle. For those of you who aren't familiar with his teachings, it's all really about being present here and now, and that itself being meditative, because you're letting go of the future and the past, if that's true. And even something as simple as, a lot of women, I start them on a mindful now version of washing their hands, and guided imagery like Circle and Bloom provides for the super busy mind, or just taking a walk as slowly as you can, or don't be hard on yourself. Of course, thoughts come through, and some of those might be the heart whispering to you. So you want to kind of be there for them, but just no judgment, and just start and just go. Like, I like that it's like learning to play the piano. It takes some time, and so just enjoy it and find the things that work for you. And Circle and Bloom is a great door. Yeah.
Door. I like that.
Yeah,
a great door. I love that.
Yeah, it's a great
Really
way in.
is.
Yes. Well, I just in respect for your time, I know it's getting later on Friday afternoon. I'm not sure what you're up to, but did you want? You mentioned. Is there anything else you wanted to chat about? Like, here I've got. I think you mentioned success stories. If there's anything you wanted to touch on there. Yeah. But I also want to, before we go, I want to if there's any direction that Circle and Bloom is moving in. Yeah.
Well, we have, so the URL is just Circle Bloom. I think we still have Circle and Bloom, and it should direct to Circle and Bloom, I hope, the and in the middle. But anyway, you'll find us by Googling. Hopefully it's not a problem. But
we'll put it in the show notes here, the link for
perfect.
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then we do offer a free 20-minute fertility meditation. So you can start by doing that completely, free. And then from there you can decide if you think it's for you to go to that next step. But a lot of people just use the freebie and to great success. So and so what we have coming up next. I mean, I'm always listening to what our community is saying. We've got a pretty robust, ultra secret Facebook group. Like you can't even search on Facebook group to find it. You got to be because people just want their ultra privacy.
Of course.
So it's ultra secret. But if anybody wants to so in addition to our URL, please email me with any questions. It's just joanne@circlebloom.com. You can put that in the show notes if you'd like for people to reach out directly and answer any questions. But what we have coming up is, more programs. We're trying to always listen to our community in terms of what would help. In fact, one of the things we're hearing is people love our programs to help with their fertility. They get pregnant, they listen to our pregnancy program, and then they're like, we can't just stop now. And so we do have a series of other programs, but something that may help with postpartum, maybe something that we'll come out with. And then, in fact, we have a Facebook group that started on its own from women who have had their children after going through infertility. And it's kind of like the Circle and Bloom. Like I'm not even on that group, so I love that. Like, go,
awesome.
Get together, do share ideas, and so anyway, we're
always innovating.
I have to figure out a way to bring in more of this idea of tapping into the intuition, tapping into this idea of like you said, kind of this power of now, which is very Eckhart Tolle. But like really understanding that to a deeper degree, because I do think firmly that I think receptivity is there. I think our community wants more of this information, and it's my passion. So there you go.
I'll put in a good word for you with Eckhart. Maybe you can collaborate.
Oh my gosh!
That would be awesome. And for sure, if for anyone listening, if you have had, I like to hear it. So I know that you would, if you've had utilized Circle and Bloom and had success, or just it's really helped you somehow through your journey. For sure, email Joanne. Let them know, because you think it's inconsequential, but when a lot of other women like to read, in my experience, like to read other women's story, because it might be at the exact right time when things are dark, and they need that.
Exactly. So we have a huge. And I don't do it. I mean, we do it because it's kind of like our repository, but on our website, you just go to like success stories or something like that on the nav bar. And it's like goes on page, but you're scrolling down. And we don't do that. Like, it's almost like a repository, and it's like you can go in and see what other women have gone through, because they're pretty detailed. Yeah. And for that exact reason. And some of them we turn into full blog posts because we want to dive deeper into that. Women who are over 40, for example. Yeah. Usually people are trying to find us for that because, it raises a lot more questions. Pregnancy after cancer, all kinds of things. Right. So yeah. And so you may just find that one little, oh my gosh, that gives me hope. Oh my gosh, that gives me hope.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you have any shiny stars that you feel like have touched a lot of people, or is a story that should just be shared more and more and more, send them my way. I want to get more. It's tough to want to share on this platform, and I get that, but there are some ladies that are stepping up, and I'm excited to have those shows as well, because it's a real face to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I will post something on our Facebook group, because I think that would, I think some women would really welcome that,
Awesome.
just to kind of, like, if in their minds of like giving back, almost like telling their story. I think more and more that we do that, even though it is a little bit more forward facing, putting yourself out there a little bit more, it may bring up those feelings of shame and everything else, but I highly encourage that. The more we can talk about it and put it out there, the more everybody can talk about it, and it becomes a problem then that we all can collectively solve, and not be shut up into a closet,
Yeah, that is so great. You offer, extensions past the programs, like on Facebook and stuff. So in that light, how people get a hold of you, through circle+bloom.com or just circle+bloom.com would be in the,
And yes, that's the primary way. And if you have a specific question or idea, or email me, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Good luck with the podcast.
Oh, thank you.
I'm to follow it. So
Excellent. Yeah, it's out there. So subscribe, leave a nice review on Apple. Anyway, again, thank you. You guys go check out circle+bloom.com. The link is in the show notes. If not, just Google it. You'll get there, and try the free one, and then step into one that's more applicable to your circumstance. I guarantee I've 90% hit for my patients over the years. So awesome. All right, dear. Okay, Joanne, thanks again.
Thank you.